Opinionated and now caffeinated. Wake Up Warchant is fueled by DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. Founded in 2014 by the Lemmix family, Ed, Courtney, and their son, Brett, DeLuna Coffee is Florida State through and through. The pursuit of the perfect blend of coffee beans is a 365-day effort for the family, but they'll always find time to tailgate for their Noles in the autumn. Stand at attention for their red, white, and brew. In honor of armed forces, the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard, DeLuna has created this fair trade organic blend. Enjoy this premium French roast coffee and salute to the good old USA. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.
From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up, wake up. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
But on Saturday,
wake up! What's up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant. It is fueled by DeLuna Coffee. DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee. DeLunaCoffee.com, run by the Lemmix family, Ed, Brett, and the matriarch, Courtney. Support them. They're Florida State alums. They're Florida State boosters. They pour their heart and soul into this coffee, and it's delicious. It was National Coffee Day on Wednesday. But hey, let's make it a week. Go over to the website, DeLunaCoffee.com. Use that promo code WARCHANT15 to get you some of the best coffee there is. Best cup of joe around. Warchant.com, ultimate Seminole sports source. Hit the thumbs up. 5-star rating. 5-star review. Corey S. Clark in the house. Corey, what's up?
What's up, Aslan? Great. They pour their heart and soul into that coffee, so you need to pour it into your mouth. That's a pretty good tagline, right?
It's
or
only
maybe
fair.
Pour it into a mug and pour that in your mouth. I don't know. I'm still working on it. Still workshopping it. Yeah. But get you some DeLuna.
Dang, Skippy. All right, we're going to catch up on the Renegade Express mailbag. I was not able to watch Syracuse in their previous games to give you guys a good scout because Corey really does think that there is a Father of the Year award, and he's going to be an awesome dad and take his kid to the ballpark. So we're trying to get this done in time to get everybody on their way for this weekend. So when are you heading down to Tallahassee, by the way, Corey?
I'll drop Brady off. You're listening to this on Friday. I drop him off around 9 a.m. at school, 9:15, and then I'll get on the road then.
Perfect.
So 2:30, 3, I'll be rolling into town.
All right, let's get on with it. We weren't at practice Thursday. They don't have it open for us. It's fine. I get it. I'm just telling you folks what's going on. So we're just going to get the Renegade Express mailbag, maybe share some other thoughts and ideas percolating in our minds before we make our game picks. Seminole life. Not Seminole for life, but just Seminole life. Living like salt life, I guess, you know.
Right.
Wake up. Going to ask this one again from last week. Did I miss you? I'm sorry, man. I thought we talked about you. Why would Mike Norvell allow an unproven offensive coordinator at any level to call plays at his biggest job to date? Arizona State, that's Norvell. Memphis, that's Norvell. Auburn, that's not Kenny. Call me crazy, just does not seem like a great idea. You ain't wrong.
I mean,
right?
I just think the bigger question and the bigger problem has been what he did on the other side of the ball. I think that he thought he and Dillingham worked really well together. And you know, who knows? Here's the thing, man. Like, I get it. I don't know what the relationship was like, the dynamic was like when they were at Memphis. Was Norvell on the headset calling every play? And Dillingham was like, just yes, sir, good call? Or did he have a lot of input too? It just seems like that relationship, Dillingham's had a ton of input since they've known each other. I mean, he brought him with him from Arizona State to Memphis, and then brought him from, essentially Memphis to Florida State. I know there was a year in there at Auburn, but he really believes in the guy. And he might be wrong in that belief through whatever we are now, 13 games. Certainly none of us are big believers in the guy right now, but he is. And, I just think he's trying to stay the course there through 13 games and not quote-unquote overreact because the offense – I just don't think he blames Dillingham for what's going on. I think he either blames himself or blames the personnel, but he doesn't blame Dillingham. He might be wrong in that assessment, but I always thought the bigger question was the other side of the ball because he doesn't have really any input on what goes on that side of the ball, and he needed a He needed his own Mickey Andrews, and it doesn't look so far like he's gotten that guy.
Part of me thinks since this is his biggest job to date, he wanted somebody that he could trust. And I think he thought he could trust Dillingham to run this offense. Now, the real problem is, yes, this offense, I mean, I don't know if we're disagreeing here, but the real problem is the offense is just not anywhere near as prolific as they said it was.
Right.
I mean, I think in the opening press conference, Kenny's like, if you play quarterback for us, you're throwing for 3,500 yards and 35 touchdowns. That's just what happens when you play for us. And it's like, yeah, that's not going to happen. That's not even going to come close. But the problem to me is that, okay, you can kind of delegate, but then you got to compensate for it somewhere, and he hasn't compensated for it anywhere. Maybe you could say recruiting, but that shouldn't involve a guy taking play calling off your plate for 3 hours of the week. I mean, the special teams is a bit of a bummer too, man, because we thought that could be an edge for a team that's trying to find its way, that could help compensate some places that you're missing out on, and that hasn't performed well. That's his calling card. Offense is his calling card. But yeah, to your point, man, I don't really think they've had a lot of bad play calls. The fade on 4th and goal against Jacksonville State, that was a bad play call. I don't like going for it on 4th down as much as he does, but again, I like that direct snap. They've been behind in games. They got to do some stuff to try to create big plays. So I really haven't seen a whole lot of boneheaded stuff, but it's definitely a fair criticism, man. I mean, when you're 0-4 and you're 3-10 in your tenure, like, yeah, everything is up for debate. Everything's up for scrutiny. So,
well, and maybe there's a sense where, if Norvell was the primary play caller at Memphis all 4 years, which, I mean, maybe he was, at least the first 3 with Dillingham. It looked like he was a little more involved on Saturday. The results didn't really change much, but maybe he does take over the play calling more. But I just think the offense was the least of his concerns, I think, when he took this job. I think he thought they would be humming with getting the band back together with him and Dillingham, that whoever's calling the plays, the scheme is the same, the philosophy is the same. And I don't know that it's necessarily the play calling. Like you said, I don't know that it's, okay, well, that was a horrible second down call. I don't know if it's so much that. If they had the best play caller in the world, they might be averaging 6 more points a game. Maybe. It's just only so much you can do. They don't throw the fade to McClain. They don't run a 4th down quarterback sweep with Mackenzie Milton. But other than that, I don't think that's a huge issue, the actual play calling aspect of the offense. There's some, maybe some philosophical things that aren't great, that haven't translated so far, and that has to change. But I don't know that he thinks that Dillingham is the issue. He might, but I don't know. It is odd that if you make your bones, the reason you're at Florida State is because you had a great offense that you called most of the plays for, that when you got your quote-unquote dream job, your big-time chance, that all of a sudden you don't call plays at all. That's why you're here, man. You got here by doing that. So maybe he starts being much more involved on Saturdays in the actual the play calling.
FSU Surfer or FSU Urfer or FS Urfer or F Surfer. I don't know.
F Surfer probably.
Could be any of them. Do we know why Deontay? I meant to read this out loud when we did the call-in show, or not the call-in show, the live show that we usually do. He asked about Deontay Sheffield, why he decided to transfer now as opposed to after the season. Other transfers seem to be due to on-the-field issues or unhappy about playing time. I mean, I would guess just to maybe get a head start on figuring out. These spots are going to start drying up quickly. I don't think you can finish out the string and then find your landing spot. It's probably best to go ahead and put your name in the portal and try to figure out a new home for you. So he had a very nice diplomatic goodbye. It was 3 pages of Apple Notes or whatever kids use these days to type out their stuff. It was 3 different images in a tweet. So good kid by all indications. So I don't think there's any animus. There's no bad blood there. He said in his goodbye, and he's got faith in Norvell. So just one of those things, I think, to just set yourself up for success to get things started quicker. That's my assumption.
Yeah, I agree.
FSU fan 2012-07, or maybe it's 2012-07, or maybe it's 2012-07. That wouldn't be 12-0. That's not a number, Aslan. Wake up, guys. Stop talking, Aslan. I first have to say thank you for what you do. To make a long story very, very short, in April I got COVID the same week I was supposed to get my vaccine, and then the first weekend in May my life was on the line and I was fighting and avoiding a ventilator. Holy jeez. My wife, who was not able to see me in the hospital at that time, told my nurses, make sure he is listening to those guys who talk about FSU. It makes him happy. So I listened to you guys in my hospital room, and you guys were a much-needed morale boost and distraction. Jeff Cameron was also listened to as well, LOL. It's been a long recovery and just now getting to a point of not needing oxygen, but I still listen to you guys doing my physical therapy workouts and doing stuff around the house. Jeez, man, that's awesome. Not your battle, but that we could, I don't know, help out in some way, man. We just try to talk about the Noles, keep it real. Glad you're not needing oxygen, man. Glad you didn't have to go on the ventilator. Hopefully you're feeling fine, but thanks for listening. Good gosh, Corey, say something more eloquent and sincere.
I can't. But that was 5 months ago, right? That he said he got it.
Yeah, April. Yeah.
And man, he's still not back. I mean, what a crazy. I mean, again, I know this isn't what he wrote about, but what a crazy flipping disease this is.
It's nuts.
Some people, it just not like kids are like, oh, it's a cold, and then other people, obviously it kills, and then it sidelines people for months and months.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. It's insane. But I'm very happy that we could help in our small way. Much more happy that you apparently got good medical care.
Yes.
And the doctors took care of you. They did it a lot more. They did a lot more than we did. But anything we can do to help, and I do appreciate the message, man. That's very, very kind, and I'm glad you're alive and well and able to send us messages.
And watch this 0-4 football team. That's probably helping.
Yeah, that's not great. It'd been cool if Florida State could have maybe rallied for you a little bit, but we're doing our part at least.
It starts this week. It all starts this week. Anyways, I got a question. There's a lot of blame on Mike Norvell and Adam Fuller and the coaches for not having kids ready. But against Jacksonville State, if Brownlee tackles that kid, it's over. Players have to make plays. Last week, Andrew Parchment should have been able to make a play on that intercepted pass. Why don't we hold the players to the same anger that the coaches seem to get? I know coaches get paid, but it's okay for players to make plays too. Stay safe and be well, guys. P.S. The screen name 2012 is the year I was married. 07 is the year I started a church mission. Look at this guy. Married. Okay. Giving back to the community. It's a lot of people that are upset about the way that we're criticizing Mike Norvell. They think that we're not being strong enough in our sort of disdain and where we're at. Kind of point to the fact that sometimes I mentioned, I'm like, hey man, the Adam Fuller play, we've talked about it enough. But again, I wasn't horrified by the defense they ran. I wasn't. They had two guys could have made it. Three guys really could have been in there to help and make it not be a loss for Florida State. And then people are like, oh, so now you guys are going to start blaming the players. All you guys did was blame Willie. And that's a little bit fair. I guess we really weren't, I guess we didn't go all in on some of these players, but I guess maybe it's just, man, it's like 3 years now. Okay, it's been different coaches. So now I guess we're at the point where maybe it wasn't the coaches in some of these things. Maybe it was you guys. Maybe there's a reason you guys ended up here and not Alabama. Maybe there's a reason they cooled on you. So I guess that's why we're a little bit more open to maybe talking about it. But it still feels, I guess, maybe a little bit uncomfortable to sit here and go knives out on a 19-year-old kid as opposed to a 39-year-old making $5 million. Well, and
there's different perspectives and ways to look at it. Certainly Jarvis Brownlee is not without blame. Sidney Williams is not without blame. But the point I made, and the point I will always make about that play, is where they put in the best position to succeed. Like, there's no reason he would be up on the line of scrimmage or near the line of scrimmage trailing somebody running a real route with 6 seconds left. Again, watch every defense in that situation for the rest of time. They will be backed up. They will look like Wake Forest looked when Florida State tried a Hail Mary at the end of the first half. You just would. And if Jacksonville State completes a 25-yard pass, calls a timeout, and somehow nails a 50-something yard field goal to go to overtime, good on them. But at least make them do that. They weren't the coaches. Jarvis Brownlee, yes, if he makes that tackle, awesome. He makes the tackle, the game's over. But he's in a position where if he misses a tackle, the game is over in the wrong way, and that's the position you put him in. And he missed the tackle. Sidney Williams missed the tackle. If Jamie Robinson stopped running, all that stuff happened. They all should have been back at the 10-yard line. So many things had to happen for that play to succeed. The first one, though, was the coaches putting their players in a bad position, and their players not making a play when they needed to. But yeah, of course, it comes down to the players too. It's not like, I think it's a terrible call to throw a fade to a true freshman against Jacksonville State, but Malik McClain's allowed to go make that catch. You know, that he is here. He's at Florida State. He was recruited by a lot of big schools, bigger than Jacksonville State. He should be able to win that battle. Parchment absolutely should be able to win that battle and at least knock the ball down. That's on Parchment. I never blamed the offense or even Milton for that throw. You got one-on-one outside with a minute left. You're trying to score a touchdown. You got your seemingly most talented receiver out wide. Let's see if he can go make a play, and of course he didn't. That's on the player. But, you know, running a fourth down sweep with Mackenzie Milton's not on Mackenzie Milton. You can say, yeah, well, if Devontae Love-Taylor gets out and makes that block, they might get the first down. Okay, but he didn't. And you ran it with a guy that can't run. So that's where some of the consternation for me comes from when it comes to the coaching. Specific play calls, specific ideology when it comes to what you're doing on fourth down, what you're doing on third and short. They've really kind of failed in that regard this season. But that doesn't mean that that the players are absolved of all responsibility. Because, they aren't playing well either. Yeah, I mean, that defense in the first half against Louisville, it wasn't as if Adam Fuller was saying, hey, if it's 3rd and 7, play 12 yards off and see if they can complete an 8-yard pass. I don't think that's what he's teaching them to do. But the teaching has to get better then. Something's being lost in the communication. And then you see that second half and you're like, yeah, that's how it should look. That's awesome. And I don't think we just gave all the credit to the players then, did we?
No.
Like that second half, something happened. I mean, Adam Fuller deserves praise for that, just like he deserves
Randy Shannon, man. It's all Randy Shannon.
Well, right. Well, whoever. The coaches deserve praise when it looks good, but they also deserve criticism when it doesn't. But yes, the players are need to be held accountable too. I think we do that. We're never going to be a show that always blames the players. We're not going to just say they got to play better. I mean, these guys get paid too much money to just blame the players for an 0-4 start. Because again, for the rest of my life, I will be convinced if I was coaching that Saturday night against Jacksonville State, Florida State wins that game. And that's preposterous. I can't coach football. But I would have known enough to scoop my guys back. And I would have known enough to not throw a fade to Malik McClain, who does not make those catches in practice. Yeah. And I would have known enough to have Deshaun Corbin or Trayshawn Ward on the field to put the game away. And then Toafili can get all the carries he wants when it's 24-7. But until then, one of my two best players is on the field getting the ball inside the red zone to go win the game.
Yeah, it was 59 minutes and 50 seconds of bad coaching. And it could have all been bailed out by one play. But again, it was 59 minutes, 50 seconds of bad coaching. So that's kind of why they catch more of it.
Yeah, you were in that spot, right?
Yes. Exactly.
The fact that you were even in that spot for Jarvis Brownlee to miss a tackle, a lot of the brunt of that, in my opinion, is on the coaches, not the players. Yeah.
Spartan Noles 71. That's Ralph. He's in Hawaii.
How's it?
That's right. Aloha, guys. How's it? No question. Just a simple thank you to all FSU athletes that lace them up to represent the university that we all love and support. In addition to football, the soccer and cross-country teams are representing us well. That's right, Adrian Whiteshut. He was Zaxby's Indescribably Good Player of the Week this past week. Cross-country. Make some noise. Shout out to Aaron.
I wonder if that'll be in his bio, like in the media guide next year.
When I was in Mississippi, we had a Friday night football show called like Blitz 16, and it was sponsored by Bank Plus, and we had a player of the week, and then we also had a player of the year. And some of the kids, when they would go, like they'd go play for Southern Miss, or maybe they go to Millsaps or Jackson State or somewhere. And some of them, it would say in high school, coached by this guy, third team All-State, and then it was like Blitz 16 player of the week back in like.
Nice. Hey man, any accolade you can throw in there.
Yeah. He says, shout out to Erin and her gang as they are her team maybe, as they are highly ranked in the regional ranking system and will also be competing this weekend. I think that's like, what was it? Like Ralph's sister's son, like his nephew's dating an athlete. I guess he's giving her a shout out. So there's her shout out, whoever's dating, whoever's related to Ralph in Hawaii. As always, mahalo, go Warchant. Hoorah. Hey friends, if you want to get started in investing in cryptocurrencies, Okay. All right. Not a bad idea. Not a bad way to spend your time. Check out the Kraken app, though, first. Find out why Kraken has been one of the highest rated places to buy crypto for the last 10 years. Super easy to get started. Just download the app, create an account, throw $10. You can start very low and then make it all the way to the penthouse. You can buy and sell over 50 of the most popular cryptos like Bitcoin, Doge, Ethereum, hey, Ripple, every single minute of every single day. Visit kraken.com/warchant to learn more or search Kraken, Kraken, in the App Store. Ah, man, he didn't correct me on this. It's Nick, R-E-D. I hate spelling things because it's so hard to spell it out and then have you like, hey, what is this going to sound like, Corey? Redivivius. Nick Redivivius. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Wake up. You two gentlemen rock. Not true.
Amen. Yeah, we do. We do rock.
If I could rock, I'd be in a band. Although I don't know, like, would you want to be a rock star? Like touring, just imagine having to like bring it every night or at least like 20 nights in 30 days in a bus, screaming, sweating, wouldn't it be this?
Yes, to answer your question, I would love to be a rock star. I don't think I want to be I couldn't do the stuff to become I couldn't do the preliminary stuff while we're making our name. Traveling around to like Statesboro, went to school there, no ill will towards Statesboro, but like Statesboro or Macon or all these towns and go and play in these bars in front of people that don't know who you are, that would be problematic for me. Yeah. But if you're asking if yes, I want to be like, I don't know,
Chris Martin,
name a rock band.
Dave Grohl. Dave Grohl, that's your guy, right? Dave Grohl.
Yeah, if I was the Foo Fighters, yes. And what's funny is I listened to I can't remember his name. The dude that was in Almost Famous, the guitar player. He was on Bill Simmons' podcast. He also he was in one of the Prefontaine movies, which is crazy. We live in a time where there were two movies that came out simultaneously about a cross-country runner. But anyway, I know he helped found Nike, or he was part of the beginning of Nike and all that. But still, he was talking about how when they did their show, their fake concerts for Almost Famous, they would have 2,000 extras. And they would come out on stage, and the place would go nuts. And he's like, man, I felt right then, like, absolutely it makes 100% sense why all rock stars are crazy. Like, it gets in you. You can't get away from that feeling. It's an unbelievable feeling. And so I think that would keep you going, right? Like, yes, it would get monotonous probably, playing the same songs, probably saying the same things, seeing the same people behind the scenes for a year. But every night when you walk on stage and you feel that adulation, that's got to kick it up. Like, you got to be like, all right, this is awesome. Yeah. These 2 hours are awesome. 3 hours are awesome. The rest of the 21 hours, that could be a little rough, but the 3 hours probably helps you get through it. Can you imagine like 20,000 people just going crazy when they see you and then singing your songs back to you?
Look it up.
I don't know that could ever get old.
Look it up. Look it up as long. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Could you believe that? You wouldn't be able to control yourself.
All right, 2 questions from Nick Redivivius. With Mackenzie Milton, do you think he's a rhythm guy? He looked elite in that 2-minute drill, similar to how he looked against Notre Dame. Should we just go spread, hurry up with Mackenzie Milton the rest of the way? That's interesting. A lot of people are saying if Jordan's back, let's just roll Jordan out there. So, rhythm guy, I think even Kenny said, right, there's some stuff that's, based on rhythm, but there's other stuff that's not. I don't want to give Mackenzie like a total cop-out, but I do think I was curious to see how he's going to – I am curious to see how he's going to play against Syracuse because, last week it was all him in practice. It was all him in the game. Saw a couple things that made you feel good. You thought he could possibly build off that going to the Syracuse game. But I don't even – it's not so much the rhythm guy. Just does he know what he wants to be? Because I think he knows his offense, but just some stuff doesn't seem all that natural and comfortable for him right now. It's probably his health still. So
I mean, it's always going to be that. Billy Crudup, by the way, is the name of the actor. Yeah. From Almost Famous. Good actor. But anyway, and I would say, yes, that's the best Mackenzie Milton's looked all year, was that it was really a 1-minute drill because they scored in like 40 seconds right before the half against Louisville. And, I mean, yeah, that was what he's used to doing. That's what he did at Central Florida. It was that quick. And yes, I would say maybe it's not a coincidence that he looked like that when you went fast. That maybe you would try to dial that up a little more moving forward if he's your guy. You've got to figure out a way to put him in the best position to succeed. Whatever you've been doing has not been working. So if it means if you're going to roll Milton out there, does it mean going and trying to snap it every 12 seconds? Maybe.
Yeah, that's a question, right? Should we go spread, hurry up with Mackenzie Milton the rest of the way?
I mean, look, as opposed to what they're doing,
yeah.
Right.
I
mean, try something, right? Like they're averaging whatever they're averaging, 18 points a game the last 3 games. That's abysmal. So yeah, go try something else. The one time they tried it against Wake is when they got down to the 1, and then of course he fumbled. Trying to go in the end zone, but I think he probably is. That's where he's more comfortable. I think the defense isn't set, so maybe he has a little more time to throw because they're still getting set when the ball is snapped. Whatever the reason, I would try something different. Maybe not every series, but at least try it a couple of times a series. I remember when the Falcons, they had a stretch around the Super Bowl time where they were incredible in 2 minutes. Like they would just go march right down the field every time they went into the hurry up. But they wouldn't do it the whole game. They would save it for certain spots. Like they'd do it 4 times a game as opposed to 9 or 10 times a game. They just wouldn't do it the whole time. And the coach had a reason why, I don't remember, maybe just to keep them from getting too tired. But yeah, do that. If you're at least do a little bit of it. Don't just wait till there's a minute 10 left and you have 1 timeout. Like start hurry up and see if that helps, and then go from there. But I would definitely do it every now and again. I don't know if I'd do it every series, but you've got to make that kid, if he's your guy, and apparently he is, you've got to get him comfortable, whatever it takes. He's the most important player on the field. Get him in a comfort spot.
I wonder if they have enough speed out wide to make teams pay for that stuff when they start getting confused, because I think teams do respect the run game of Florida State. And he gets the ball out quickly, and he makes pretty decent throws, like 15 yards and in, but nothing really all that much beyond it. So I don't know what they got to do to help.
I mean, they're
not.
Look, Pokey and Parchment and McLean, these aren't slow dudes. It's not, you know what I mean? They're not 4'8" guys. It's not
Kenny O'Neill, though, you know.
True, that's a good point. Kenny O'Neill, forgot about that name. But so they can run. They're deep threats. There's been no reason to be threatened by them so far this season, but they can be deep threats. So I think they got the requisite speed out wide to keep teams honest if you get into a rhythm, and if you beat them maybe once over the top, that might help a little bit too.
Yeah. Second question: do you remember when Stoops in 2010 said that the OU game was a matter of the defense just not knowing their stuff quite yet? I don't recall that, but I trust you, Nick. Ready, Vivianus. The coach has decided not to change anything and just keep training the kids. Then, at the end of the year, we beat a physical South Carolina team. Do you think we are dealing with the same thing on defense now, just 3 times worse as far as kids being young and not knowing their roles? Because when they get it, they really get it. Maybe these first 4 games are like a really low 2010 OU game.
Maybe. I mean, look, some of these guys have been here for a while, but some of them haven't. Like, I see what you're saying. Like, but Keir Thomas, Jermaine Johnson, Jamie Robinson, they're new, but they're actually playing well. So it's not like they don't get it. I just think number one, they don't have the talent that 2010 team had. I mean, that they did have Brandon Jenkins rushing the passer, Bjorn Werner a little bit, sprinkle in some Nigel Bradham. I mean, you had some guys that could play. Patrick Robinson, I think, maybe he was gone by then.
Yeah,
Greg Reed, Xavier Rhodes,
Mike Harris.
You had guys that could play. Yeah. They were talented, but they were young. I wouldn't call that defense incredibly young. I don't, and I just think look, that Oklahoma game was a. I mean, they could have scored 100. I mean, I even to this day, I don't know that I've seen an offense get treated like that for a half. I mean, I think it was It was like 38 points and 380 yards. It was something incredible.
What about NC State 2013? Come on, Corey.
2013?
Yeah.
They beat the tar out of NC State in 2013.
That's what I'm saying. Talking about.
Oh, you mean the NC? Yeah, true. Good point. Yes, that's right. That was 35 points and a quarter. So yes, you're right. I have seen. I'm in a Florida State defense.
Okay,
but,
I apologize.
Yeah, I mean that's wishful thinking, I guess. I mean, hopefully it plays that way. That's why I think this half, this first half, this game really is so vital. Is so vital to the future of Adam Fuller at Florida State. If they come out and look like they have for the last two first halves, after what they did in the second half against Louisville, I think you can go ahead and just pencil in, okay, this is the buyout we're going to be paying him in December. I just don't think there's any way you come back from it. If you have that half that you had and then come out and piddle, I won't finish that word, around, if you piddle around and give up another 27, 28 points in a half to not a very good offense, what are we doing? That's it. That's a wrap. You've proven that it can't go from week to week. That you can't carry over something from week to week. So I do think that would be very bad for Adam Fuller if they come out and play poorly. But that's an if. They might play really well. They might have found something legitimately, genuinely. They might have found something on Saturday. For the first time since the first quarter of the Jacksonville State game, I feel like there's a little bit of hope with this team. The way the defense played in the second half, you shut down an opponent for the first time in who knows how long, and then Mike Norvell's soliloquy to my question on Monday, all of a sudden there's a little bit of juice around this program, much more than there should be for an 0-4 football team, clearly. But I think some people are like, all right, Mike, yeah, I like you, buddy. Okay, I'm back on board. I'm watching you with an eagle eye, but I'm back on board. And then if you go out and lose again and give up 30-something points again to Syracuse, who put up 7 against Rutgers, that's a wrap on Fuller, and it's a really bad look for Norvell moving forward because you're not going to beat North Carolina if you lose to Syracuse, so you're going to be 0-6 going into the bye. After your really emotional, genuine, passionate diatribe, to then follow that up 5 days later with another loss, that's going to be a bad look too. And people are going to be back off the bandwagon if they're even close to it anyway.
Hop on the bandwagon, put some money down on some games, maybe some prop bets over at mybookie.ag. Use the promo code WARCHANT, make a deposit, get it doubled instantly right there on the spot. Win, withdraw your money. No big to-do about getting your winnings sent back to you. I think you can maybe get your winnings sent to you in Bitcoin, and then you can go put in Kraken. Everything coming full circle. What do you think about this one, Corey? First half line, Florida State favored by 3 on Syracuse.
Man, I would take the Noles. I think they're going to have a lead for the first time, really, this year. I know they had a 14-7 lead at half against Jacksonville State, but I think they're going to play well in the first half. I do think they're carrying it over. I think the offense will figure out a way to do something. I think maybe because the way Syracuse defends with so much man coverage that maybe, just maybe, a wide receiver goes and makes a play for a big gain, for a touchdown. And I think maybe you're up by a couple scores at half. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen anyway. That's how I see it playing out. So I like giving the 3.
Check out MyBookie. Again, when we get closer to kickoff on Saturday, they open everything. Game props, first quarter lines. So you have to wait for the whole game to play out if you feel good about certain situations. It's all available on MyBookie. And again, maybe put a little bit on JT Daniels plus 2,000 to win the Heisman. Because they beat Arkansas and he throws a couple touchdowns. Maybe he starts getting some traction. Again, let's get it on the ground floor. Make our way to the top. MyBookie.ag. Use that promo code WARCHANT. All right, that's a wrap on all the questions that we have, Corey. We maybe should make a game pick since we did it for the website, share it with our listeners here on the podcast. Did want to kind of pick your brain real quick. I know we got to get going here, but what does it mean that this team, I have genuinely felt, even to a certain degree against Wake Forest, that even though they were behind, when they started making their comebacks, I'm like, they have this team clearly on the ropes. I remember desperately, feverishly trying to put money on Florida State in the fourth quarter on my bookie, but every time I try to make a deposit, like the line kept changing. Because at some point, like Florida State was like plus 800 on the live game line while they were coming back. I'm like, dude, they are going to win this game. I'm like, Notre Dame is totally letting this thing slip away. Jacksonville State, they had the opportunity to kind of put the hammer down on them on that 4th and goal. When they're driving, you got what the 1st and goal, however close they were. I mean, they were 3rd and goal from the 2. Like you had these opportunities to put them away. Louisville, 4th quarter, the comeback starts happening. I'm like, they've got this game. I've got the post-game Mike Norvell story that we'll put up on our website after every game, and I have, Norvell talks about, emphatic come from behind win against Louisville. Maybe I need to stop doing that. Maybe I'm jinxing it. But the fact, again, they're 0-4, horrible. But the fact that they have had, at least in 3 of these 4 games, and again, I think there's moments in the Wake Forest game, I'm like, all right, they got a spark. This is all they need. The fact that they've had teams on the rope, but not been able to put them away, is that like a concerning thing, or is that something that you kind of think is like, all right, well, at least they're close on these things? Because I'm picking Syracuse just because I think no matter what, man, when there's moments for this team to take a game over and to finally put somebody away, for whatever reason, they just can't do it. And I'm afraid that maybe something like that will happen again on Saturday. But what do you think about the fact that they've had opportunities to put games away, or at least like deliver a knockout punch of these teams that are reeling, but just never been able to get out of their own way?
Well, it's what bad teams do, right? And I don't know that, other than Jacksonville State, I don't know I would characterize any of them as being able to put them away, but like a knockout punch.
Well,
but yeah,
the Notre Dame game was a bad snap. The Notre Dame Jacksonville game's a bad play call. Louisville game is just some more bad play call. Yeah,
but they were trying to come back, like they were trying to get to overtime, which they might have. But they're not good enough to keep having the negative plays that they have, whether it's penalties or just tackles for loss because somebody comes in clean, or your quarterback just but falls down, trips over some grass. They can't overcome that stuff, and they just, that keeps happening so much. I don't know. I don't know what the mindset of this team is. I know that I don't, when they've done it now really 3 times, and I know the Wake Forest comeback never really materialized because they turned it over at the 12, they turned it over at the 1, but they do make these teams just a little squeamish maybe in the 4th quarter because they do come back. They keep coming. And eventually you think they're going to break through and they're going to find a way to put together, 3 or 4 straight drives where they get in the end zone and they can put a game away. I do, they are closer than they were last year, but we're past that now, right? Like, I know I've been talking about that this week, and I believe it. I do think they're a better team than they were last year. I think last year's team was a 1-11 team. They just happened to get a couple wins because they had a quarterback do some really miraculous things. But overall, they were terrible. This year, I don't think they're terrible. I think they're winless, which, maybe they're synonymous. Maybe they should be synonymous. I don't look at that football team and say it's a terrible football team. When you watch them play on Saturdays in these games, if they're a terrible football team, then look, Wake Forest got outgained by a terrible football team. So Wake must not be any good. Louisville got outgained by a terrible football team, which means Louisville isn't good, which means Central Florida isn't any good. Same with Notre Dame. Like they're not a terrible football team. They have terrible results. But by God, it's time to stop having terrible results. And that's why I think this game is so big, man. You've got to start winning some games. You don't get a lot of chances this year. You are going to be there are a couple games out there where even if you play really well, you're going to lose. But man, it's high time they find a way. This coaching staff and these players find a way to go win a game. Don't find ways to lose games, like letting guys get behind you on the last play of the game or snapping the ball at his feet when you're going in for maybe a kill shot against Notre Dame and you just snap the ball at his feet. Or, make a call for a fade to a freshman. All these things are things that losing teams do. So hopefully they can get some of that out of their system and start playing those plays well. If they start playing the bigger plays, and it's Jimbo always said, like, the big play is the one that you don't make, or the big game is the one you don't win. Like, he's like, NC State he'd always say this to me. I think it was on the record, but like that 2012 NC State game, people like, Jimbo can't win the big one. He's like, why was that a big game? They weren't even ranked. It became big because we lost. Don't say we can't win the big game. And, of course, the next year they won them all. But they only become big plays when they're magnified when they don't go well. But, you've got to start playing those are eliminating the plays that lose games. Does that make sense? I think I'm rambling. I don't think I'm making a ton of sense. But I don't think they're as terrible as they were last year. But the record is worse. And if they lose to Syracuse, I don't care if they lose on a Hail Mary to end the first half and a Hail Mary to end the second half and 2 blocked punts. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to be defending them for being close. Or you just can't. You can't lose to Syracuse for your 4th home loss in 5 games, 3 of which were to not good teams, and then think that you're going to be able to sell to people that the program is getting better. I do think it's getting better, but that could be too much for me. I'd be like, I don't care. I don't care that this team looks better and their efficiency numbers are better. You're 0-5, man. You can't find a way to beat any of these teams. Your number one job as a coach, as coaches, is to win the game. So it's cool that you've improved in all these areas. But at the end of the day, find a way, somehow, some way, to put your team in the best position to win and then actually go win it. There you go. That was 4 minutes of gobbledygook, but I did it.
I was trying to have a conversation with you, but you just took all that time.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. It's my fault.
I just thought about it because no, it's not a big retort, but just when you guys were talking about it on Warchant Report, you, Jeff, and Ira was talking about, all they really have is this win against Liberty, Syracuse, that is, and they kind of lucked into that one. Liberty went forward on 4th and goal instead of kicking a field goal, and then later on they fumbled the ball. And I'm like, okay, but they beat Liberty. And, Liberty made those mistakes. And, Florida State's been the team that has done that kind of stuff. And that's why, I don't feel all that good about the pick. I wouldn't put any – I'd put money on Florida State I'd put money on Syracuse to be within the spread. I think Florida State can win this game. I'm picking Syracuse 27-24 because, again, I just think, Syracuse hasn't shown a propensity to make bad mistakes in games that have cost them. Florida State has. And until they stop doing that stuff, to your point, stop making losing plays, I'm going to probably pick against them other than UMass. But hopefully lessons have been learned against the momentum from that second half. The defensively will be carried into the first half, get a lead, and then be able to play with a lead and shut them down. But I got Syracuse 27-24. I don't feel overly confident about it. I hope I'm wrong. Trust me. But I would just say at least make it within the spread. But you think differently. What do you got? Take us out.
I got FSU 30-20.
Okay.
I think it could be. I think it might be 30-14, 30-13, and then Syracuse scores late. I feel like the defense is going to have a big play. If they can get up by a couple scores and make that quarterback have to throw, because he's not great at it. Has it mattered? These quarterbacks that Florida State's played, they always seem to have great games.
Correct.
But putting him in a position to have to throw, because he's more of a runner. They want to run the ball a lot. They don't want to throw it a ton. He completed 6 passes against Liberty, and they still won. So that's not their calling card. But maybe he throws a forced interception. Maybe it's a strip sack by our man Jermaine Johnson, and the defense can even score some points or set up a touchdown. But yeah, man, it's probably just wishful thinking. But when you do see a second half like that, and you do remember the second half of the Notre Dame game, you're like, man, they if they could, and it's a huge if, and there's no reason to believe it will happen. I'm just more like the football gods, and they're due. So, something has to flip. It can't go on like this forever. But if they do put together a quality game, they should beat Syracuse by 2 scores. I think their potential is that. They've shown their potential. The second half against Notre Dame, the second half against Louisville. That's a good football team, right? They looked like a good football team for those 2 halves. They aren't a good football team because they can't do it consistently. They can't string anything together. There's no consistency. But if there was somehow, some way, if they could find a way to do that, I think they can beat Syracuse comfortably. But they haven't found a way to do it yet. But hey, there's a first time for everything, Aslan, right? You got to believe.
There is. All right, we will believe. We'll go on a high note then. Hopefully that is the case. And don't forget, if you want to go into the weekend on a high note, join Corey Clark and Jeff Cameron at the Corner Pocket on Appalachia Parkway. What, 5 o'clock? Is it a true happy hour 5 to 6, or do you guys go 5 to 7? You guys go crazy.
No, it's 5 to 6. It's not happy hours.
Okay, hey.
Just 1 hour, but we'll be there from 5 to 6, and then we'll probably hang out a little bit after if you want to buy Jeff some hoppy dark, nonsensical beer, and me a Mick Ultra.
There we go.
By all means, have at it.
There we go. All right. Check out warchant.com. Full game prediction and analysis from our own Austin Cox, breaking down every single segment group versus every segment group. Warchant reports up on the YouTube page. Check that out. Pre-game show with Jeff and Tom starts at 9 in the morning, Tallahassee game day. That's live on our YouTube channel as well as 93.3 FM, 9 to 11 in the morning. And then the post-game show 10 minutes after what we hope is Florida State's first victory of the 2021 season. They take on Syracuse at 3:30. That's on ACC Network.
Can I say something real quick, Aslan, before we sign off?
Trying to, God, sure.
I know, I got to go. I got to go, actually. I don't know why I keep doing this. But it's something I texted you earlier in the week. Has there ever been a media entity that's devoted more airtime to a team that's winless through a whole month than Warchant? I mean, folks, it's literally 20-something hours of live content every week of on-air content on our YouTube channel, plus all the things we write on the actual website, which is all good stuff. There's never been a football team in history that's had this much attention from one media entity. And all I'm saying is, don't be a fan later. Hang with us now, even while we're writing and talking about an 0-4 team, because when this thing gets turned around and we're talking about a 10 or 11 win team, the views are going to go through the roof. The podcast listens are going to go through the roof, and you'll get to say you were there on the ground floor.
That's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks so much for listening to Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. DeLuna Coffee features over 24 different blends. DeLuna's unique roasts can be delivered ground finely for drip coffee makers, coarse for the craft crowd, untouched as a whole bean, or even in convenient K-Cups. Founded in 2014 by the Lemmix family, Ed and Brett are FSU alums and boosters who are extending a special offer to all listeners. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.